Good morning. I am Doris Green, owner of Lantern Dancer located in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. We specialize in contemporary Southwestern jewelry. Uh, as our newest artist, we have Tommy Jackson, and he is quite a famous artist, so we are privileged to have him. And I kind of went off the maybe off the grid and bought um, a lot of of vintage jewelry, and so I asked Tommy to come up and help us in making sure we identified it correctly. And he is here today to do that. And I'm asking him to speak to some of the special pieces. Tommy?
Good morning, Doris. Um, I want to thank you for inviting me over here to look at some of this fine vintage jewelry that you have here and some of the stuff that I identified that are done by some early works from some very famous artists. Starting from here, we got some Tommy Singers from the 70s with some nice big coral strands on them. That's some of his early work here from the 70s, and he redid that style with some gold beads in them. Those came out really nice. And then we came across some nice necklace here that is some Sleeping Beauty. If you notice some Sleeping Beauty, they're lighter blue, but they say when the beauty wakes up, they turn to a darker blue. And this must be pretty old to where it's turned a darker blue from the skin, the oils from your skin, and what lotions and stuff that you put on yourself. But that's what turns the color here. So this is a real nice example of the beauty waking up here with strand with some kishi there. That is really nice. And then this I automatically recognize from a real good friend of mine from Tisnaspas, Arizona, just on the other side of the New Mexico, by the Four Corners area. His name is Jefferson Brown. But this is some of the type of work that he does here. It's all with Sleeping Beauty turquoise, and he used to use a lot of the rug design in his design. So I noticed this right off, and when I looked on the back, and sure enough, it was his. But out of all the pieces that I saw that you got, this was probably one of the best ones here. That this is done by a well-known artist. It's got GN with a Z in the middle, but that's his brand on his animals, on his cows and his horses. But I automatically recognized this um, hallmark back here was by Gibson Nez. And the stones in here, I remember this guy coming to my booth when I was a young up and coming artist. He brought his clients over to my booth, and he told them, I advise you guys to buy some of this young man's jewelry because this guy's going to be an up and coming artist. He's going to be pretty well known for what he's doing. But they bought quite a few stuff from me, and I thanked him. I said, my God, I thought somebody like you, man, I've always admired your work. I always admired you. And thank you for bringing some of your clients over here to buy some of my jewelry. He says, Tommy, what you're doing is really good right now. Your mom and dad, Martha and Gene Jackson, are pretty famous for the work that they do. But keep doing what you're doing. Use nothing but the best turquoise you can find. I mean, looking at this bracelet here, it's all got some Morinci water web in them. You can tell by some of the pyrite that's in some of the Morincis here, and then some of the water web that's in there. But he always told me, use nothing but the best turquoise when you make your jewelry. It will separate you from everybody else. And make sure that it's got some weight to it. And sure enough, this bracelet's got some weight to it. So I've always followed that advice that he gave me. And when I first saw this, I would have never thought it was Gibson Nez because he's known for his inlay work. But this must have been one of his very early pieces. I'm looking at maybe early 70s is when he did something like this, but that's a really nice bracelet there. Mm-hmm. What I like about this one here is the weight on this. They probably used 20 gauge sheets of silver. Each one of these were all cut into circles and domed up. And what was neat about this is they hand stamped all of this all together. And when you hand stamp them and when you file the edges on them. They got to be nice and even to where you can put the solder all the way around it. This guy did such an awesome job on soldering that none of the solder went into any of the stamps. This was perfectly done. This is really nice here. This is about the 80s because I can always tell by what they put it on here. Earlier days they were like foxtails or something, but this got some chain here, and then this is the backing that they used that they bought and they put it together there. This is the one that just blew me away when we went through all of this jewelry here. She brought this out and I got goosebumps. And I looked at it really good. I said, boy, that sure looks like Gene Jackson, my father's early work. And sure enough, she goes, oh, that's made by a guy named Jack So. And I said, Jack So. I said, I looked at it and I said, no, it's Jackson, but the M got a piece of solder melted into that. And that's why it says Jack So on it. We're missing the N on it. But this represented the water here, and the arrow was for strength. I remember he did a lot of this. So this is, whoever's getting this is going to be pleased with that work. That is some beautiful vintage Gene Jackson work. He learned the art of silversmithing from one of the greatest artists that ever came through. His name was Kenneth Begay. So that's who my dad learned that silversmithing technique with the shadow boxes from Kenneth Begay at the Navajo Community College. Mm-hmm. And this one, Doris, man, this is something else. This is vintage.
I love that.
Early 70s with the leaves and the wire work and the drops. But what really caught my eye was this Kingman water web. It's beautiful turquoise, and the coral has no hole in it. It's perfect. It's nice, but that is a beautiful ring. Right now, these days, what I'm selling a lot of is big rings, and those two should go pretty good. This is a guy from my hometown, an elderly gentleman. My dad used to do the fishtail shadow box designs, but this guy was well known for it too. He's got to be in about his 90s now. He's from Ganado, Arizona, but his name was Tuly Linkin. But these got some nice pieces of Sleeping Beauty here. But what really caught my eye was this big piece of coral here with no holes in it. Yeah. But
and it's more orange.
It's more orange, yes, yes. And then we saved the best for last, of course,
there you know. Go.
Royston, high-grade Royston green turquoise with the orange and the browns. And this was made by a very famous artist named Tommy Jackson. It's got the whole set with it. Usually when I do my pieces, I like to put the earrings and the necklaces in there, but it's a nice piece of turquoise. One thing about working with turquoise, of all the years I've been working with it, I remember when my mom and dad were making all their turquoise, they would do all their work on the kitchen table. When it came time for us to eat, they'd get that whole pile and move it over this way. And I asked my mom, I said, God, did you put some of that Bisbee, that Morinci, did you save some in a coffee can and put it away for me for later on? She says, no, we used it as fast as we got it. She goes, what about you? Are you saving any turquoise for later on? I said, no, I'm using them as fast as I can get them. But turquoise like this, the high-grade Royston, Kingman, Sleeping Beauty, this mine closed down 3 years ago. When I used to buy turquoise direct from the mine, I was paying $200 a pound. Ever since they closed, within that amount of time, it's going to as much as $2,000 a pound now.
Ooh.
So it's getting expensive. But even the old Royston, it's hard to get. You know, most of the turquoise that I use in some of my jewelry, they're all good American turquoise. I don't use any from any foreign country. All of it is good American turquoise. But even for myself, I've got miners coming to see me. I've got collectors that sell to me after the Indian market or something. But they're not coming with bagfuls now. They're just coming with little bags of turquoise that they're selling. So I know it's getting harder and harder to get. You know, it's going to be a time where all we're going to be able to start using, where there's an abundance of turquoise, is from China. You know, I hope I don't have to get to that point, because I love American turquoise, and it's a good investment. I mean, look at this vintage Gibson Nez bracelet. This maybe back in the early 70s was $4, and $4 a carat. Paying for that type of turquoise was quite a bit back then. But this same turquoise here is going for about $80 a carat now. What a, you know, it's an investment. That's what collectors look for. They look for the good turquoise because they know when they're investing in this bracelet that later on down the years, if they decide to sell it or even pop out the stones and put them in something else, that they're gonna get their money's worth. Their investment is really good. Like some of these turquoise, my goodness, I mean, you put this in gold with a gold men's ring. Oh man, that'll look nice. But thank you for having me here.
Well, we do appreciate you coming. I know you're a busy man, and your knowledge has just been invaluable to us.